A lot of people, especially the younger generation, feel like saving money is next to impossible. And most people don't fail at saving money because they're irresponsible, but they fail at it because their income simply has no margin to it. The truth is that saving's not about discipline, it's more about leftover money, and if there's nothing left, there's nothing to save. You can't save money that doesn't exist. I know the economy isn't the best right now, and a lot of people can't get savings started to begin with because of rent, food, insurance, utilities. Everything just eats your check immediately right when you get paid. There's also debt payments that come out before you can even see the money. Lots of other variables that just constantly reset your progress. Something as a simple one emergency could wipe out months of your savings. It kind of feels pointless whenever you just keep getting drained. In today's world, savings has become the emergency fund and the spending fund in together. Most people can't actually save money because their emergency fund and their spending fund are treated into the same category. Most people treat savings like it's optional money, when in reality, you need to have emergency savings for short-term goals or emergencies like layoffs or medical bills, something along those lines. There's no clear why you need to save, and without that mindset, there's nothing going to be holding you back from actually spending that money. They get really emotional about it, and they can tend to overspend or just go on a shopping spree whenever their emotions get burnt out or high. Now, it is difficult for low-income people, but it is possible. That's important to remember. I had a friend who used to work at Walmart, and I'm from the South, and Walmart was not paying the craziest amount of wages. Nowadays they do, but they didn't at the time, and he managed to save, even being on next to minimum wage, he managed to save up to 20 grand into a savings account while living on his own and while paying for practically everything himself. He was super disciplined, and in order to do it, he had to say no to a lot of things. That meant even hanging out with me. That meant going to the movies. That meant doing simple things like even buying a candy bar. Yes, it did suck in the short term, but in the long term, he set himself up for financial success. There's this big conception going around about paying yourself first, and it works great if your income is actually greater than your expenses, but it fails when your income is equal to or less than your expenses, and auto saving can really just overdraft people's accounts, and whenever that happens, they start to feel guilty and end up putting all together. Before I give more of a detailed breakdown on tips, if you guys aren't making more money than you are spending, you either simply need to stop spending less or you need to make more. There's really no other way to cut it. That is just the hard truth when it comes down to things like this. Now, if you are fortunate enough to make more than you spend, that is where you can get into the more detailed examples that I'm about to give you. You need to start looking at your savings as more of a buffer and not necessarily this huge financial goal. Savings is going to be a protection for you, not necessarily lifetime financial success. It is the first step to getting there. Having a savings will buy you time, it'll buy you options, and overall just less mental stress, which is really important when it comes to working the financial game. Even if $500 could change how emergencies feel whenever something bad happens, that first time when something bad happens and you actually feel like you can pay for it and not run your account to zero is one of the best feelings you could possibly have. So some practical tips that can actually work no matter what your income range is. You can kind of just add zeros to this or take away zeros if you need to. I'm going to assume most people watching this aren't making a ton of money, so we're going to set up some smaller targets to begin with. The first target I want you to aim for is going to be getting a savings of $300. After doing that, you can work to getting a savings of $500, and then you can double it and look to get a savings of $1,000. Momentum will always be perfection in these type of things. Something that might help you guys out is separating your accounts. You could have one account for bills, one account for spending, and one for savings. That's just so impossible to access that maybe you have like a PIN code to set up, or maybe some type of like two-step authentication, whatever it does to maybe add an extra step before you can spend that money. The more friction to spending money in your savings account, the better, especially if it's something you struggle with. For a lot of people who don't have the willpower when it comes to saving or spending money, the easier it is to access the money, the easier it will get touched. My next tip is to be saving your money based on your pay cycles, not necessarily on months. So let's say you get paid twice a month, you need to be saving twice a month, not once per month. Let's say you're aiming towards that first $300, you need to be saving $25 to $50 per check. Now, I know rent hits the first of the month, so if you can't do it every paycheck, it's not the end of the world, but you need to be aiming for at least 25 to 50 bucks every paycheck. You could always do more, you could always do less, but being consistent will always beat just doing these huge deposits and telling yourself, oh, in 5 months, I'll make the huge $300 deposit all at once, because most people don't actually end up doing that. Another tip I have is to look at your financial leaks that could be happening. So a lot of people will have subscriptions running around that they have no idea about, or they have high interest debt that they've either forgot about or they just don't know exist to begin with, or they're getting hit with bank fees or overdraft fees. Some people will have banks that literally charge them monthly if they don't have a certain dollar amount in their bank account. If your bank does that, you need to be leaving your bank immediately, unless there's really good reasons to doing that. If you're just getting started off in finances, your bank should not be doing that. Some other stuff you could do is renegotiating with your different phone plans, insurance companies, or your internet. A lot of these companies, whenever you go to cancel the subscription or go to cancel the phone plan or your internet, they will beg you to stay. I'm talking, they will literally do anything to get you to stay, which includes cutting down the price. There's been times where I've called my insurance company and I honestly just kind of straight up told them that another insurance company was offering me half the price and they were able to match it. And all I did was make a phone call that took me 10 minutes. These companies need us consumers more than we need them. So when it comes to getting the best pricing, maybe look at what kind of leverage you can pull. The less bleeding happening, the more you can plan for the future. Another side of things that a lot of people don't talk about is the emotional side of money. Money stresses can really cause burnout for a lot of people. That burnout can turn into a whole bunch of I deserve this type of spending. The shame, it just completely will kill your consistency. The second you tap into the savings, a lot of people will feel this all or nothing mindset. Oh, I tapped into it once. It's kind of the end of the world. Let me just spend it all and just forget about it. Financial progress sometimes can feel invisible, and that's one of the worst parts about it all, especially when you have things automated, like if something's just coming out of your check or if you're just investing monthly. Unless you actually check it daily or if you check it routinely, you're not really going to be seeing that money increase. It's more of a in the back of your mind type of thing. If you are one of those people who get really emotional about your money, you could even do something as simple as naming your savings account can help. I had a friend who had to name his savings account, "Do not spend this money, you idiot." That was literally the name of his savings account. And surprisingly, it did help him a little bit. He was managing to save more money. With all this being said, I want you guys to keep in mind that saving can honestly feel impossible sometimes, especially if you're not making high income. You're not broken. The economy is in a really bad spot right now. The middle class is non-existent, and the system is really not built for anybody who's not a high earner. That's why I can't stress enough that being perfect when it comes to this type of thing is not really a thing. You have to just be as prepared as you can and work towards it as easy and as consistent as you can. Consider subscribing and liking the video because it helps me out a ton, and leave a comment down below on what financial advice you could use next.